Welcome to the RaceGuru Thunder Hour, brought to you by the Elite Plus Network and FantasyGuru.com. As always, I'm joined by the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Sean Engel. You can find on X at SeanE247. I am Rich Maletto, the Res Commissioner here in the Res Cave, coming to you. Well, I guess it's not really live. Sean and I are live, but you guys won't see this live. Maybe one day. I don't know. I've never understood the live, not live thing, Sean. I'm not very techie. I'm old. So, me turning on a computer is success. I couldn't fix anything. So, beyond that. But anyway, we are here to talk NASCAR as always. But please, if you are new to the show, or maybe you aren't, you still haven't subscribed. If you like the content that Sean and I put out here, not just here on the podcast, but of course at FantasyGuru.com, where all our content can be found. We cover all things NASCAR over there, Trucks, Xfinity, Cup. You can find our cheat sheets, our articles. Head on over to FantasyGuru.com, click subscribe, and check out all the different packages we've got. Sean, I heard on the podcast one day, at one point there was a 50% off promo that was going around. Did that disappear, or is that still floating around? I heard Jeff mention it the one day and about crapped myself. I'm not going to lie.
50%. That would be a heck of a deal if you can scratch that up right there.
I'll have to listen to the one man's opinion. If anything, it got said there or on the Elite Sports Fantasy Show, and it may have only been for like a week, with the NFL draft around the corner here. But you can find all of our stuff. Sean had it flashed up there, and I was too slow. $79.99. That gets you 12 months for everything that's not football or baseball. We know it's baseball season, though. Soon to be football. And if you want the stuff from the one and only, the Oracle, Ray Flowers, head on over to Guru, hit that little subscribe button. Look, there's all sorts of different packages. Feel free to reach out to support at FantasyGuru.com. If you can't find the package you're looking for, let them know what you're looking for. Maybe you're into football and baseball and nothing else. If you're listening to this show, I hope that's not the case because we don't talk much football and baseball. But if you like racing, maybe hockey, maybe NBA, and you want to dabble in football, reach out to them. Let them know that you're interested. Football season is around the corner, so it's if you want to get into football, now is the time to do so. Baseball just got going. Ray's content has been phenomenal. I know Rob and Patio Joe over there have been dropping some great content as well. Jorge Pucks and his team over there on the hockey side. The bearded one will be back for college football, so, you don't want to miss out on that. We've got soccer. We've got Tyler doing MMA and esports. Honestly, I challenge anyone. There is more content on FantasyGuru.com than you can consume by yourself in 1 year. It's not possible.
And for those curious, too, our third guy that's usually here with us, Mark Hogan, he covers UFL right now. UFL. And that's what he's doing this week, too, as a matter of fact. So shout out to him, too.
Shout out to Mark, who makes all of us envious of his DFS prowess. He really is good at DFS. I
just going out there fishing for victories. That's what I say his tagline is, fishing for victories. Fishing for victories.
You could feed him information, and he will turn it into a profit. It's truly amazing. I major hat tip to him. So anyway, well, we're back. We had The Rock this past week, right, Sean? What was your thoughts? We haven't been to The Rock in, 2011 and 2012 was the last Xfinity runs. Before that, was it 2004?
Actually, wasn't that trucks only? And then Xfinity ended the same time Cup did, around like 04, 05 or something like that.
I thought Xfinity ran in 11 and 12 with the trucks. Maybe not. I'll have to look. Sean. Now you got me questioning. Let me look.
I don't know. I'm just trying to remember over his too. My memory sometimes is off too. It's not perfect, as we know. But
heck, Sean. When was the last time we were there? Poor Rock. When I know they launched it back for the trucks in 2011. That much I know. But when I was doing my digging, I thought I came across some stats for Xfinity. Either way, I'll look that up, Sean, while we're talking about Rockingham. But the bottom line is, how often do we go to a 0.94 mile track with different degree banking in turns 1 and 2 and in 3 and 4? It was kind of newly paved, but from what the drivers said, it still had all its kind of old personality.
Yeah,
overall,
truly.
What were your thoughts?
I thought Rockingham put on a pretty good show overall, too. I didn't catch as much of the truck races I wanted to catch, so you can fill some gaps there with that one. But I did catch the Xfinity Series race, and I have to say, even though it did get chaotic there at the end, it was still overall great to watch, and there was a lot of action all throughout the track, too. Lots of drivers making passes. We even had a little bit of calamity ensue, and overall, pretty solid show over. I think The Rock deserves to stay.
I'm with you. Just so it gets people some clarity. You were right, Sean. Trucks were there in 12 and 13. Xfinity stopped in 04 with Cup. Interestingly enough, the last 4 Xfinity races were won by Jamie McMurray. That's why there was all that crap talking in the booth on Saturday.
It's truly because Jamie, back when he ran at this track, he owned this place. Absolutely owned it.
It's interesting because the old data lists the track at 1.017 miles. All the data I pulled from all the NASCAR sheets listed it at 0.94. Yet here on Racing Reference, they are calling it an even 1 mile. Now, we're split hairs, Sean. You and I know this because we've been around the sport a long time. They changed the distance of the track. What they do is they want it to sound and look cool. So track promoters have been known to take the little wheel, that you do long measurements with, and go try different lines around the track so they can call it less than a mile or exactly 1 mile or just over a mile. So the distance is a little bit of a misnomer overall because depending if you run high, run low, the distance changes, that sort of thing. But I just find that interesting that the track hasn't really changed, but the data apparently is. So like the average speed was a very little bit of a variance and so on. But I'm with you. I thought it was great. I love going, you and I have talked about this. I love going to tracks that aren't what I call the cookie cutters. I like when I can see on TV that this is in a unique or different track. When you hear the drivers complaining about bumps, and I shouldn't say complaining, but when they were talking about the bumps, and I know the banking's a little different, the banking's a little different. Jamie Mack talked about that a little bit, how the one turn's a little more narrow than the other, and especially after they added the safer barriers. I hope it stays. I know Dale Jr. said he's not anxious to get Cup here. I think his fear is short track racing at the Cup Series is dying. He's already worried that we're going to start removing short tracks. So I think his stance is they put on a great show. Let's not ruin it with the Cup cars, even though that's not what he said. I'm putting words in his mouth, and someone wants to send this to Dale Jr. If I'm wrong, Dale, feel free to call me out on it, but I'm pretty confident I'm correct. So I'm with him. I don't think we need to see Cup. I wouldn't mind because I want to see Cup at other tracks than where we go. But quite frankly, this car's ruined all the fun tracks anyway, Sean. So what's the point?
Maybe worth a shot for 1 year just to see how it goes at the very least. I mean, we give it, or maybe what we can do is we can make North Wilkesboro a points race and test it out at the All-Star race for 1 year. NASCAR loves to use the All-Star race to test different gimmicks and stuff anyway, so there you go.
We should rename it the gimmick race. Forget calling it the All-Star race, because let's face it, they're kind of weird about the All-Stars and who's in and who's not and who gets to get in when they haven't been versus wins and all that. Let's just get rid of the moniker of All-Star and let's call it NASCAR's once-a-year gimmick race.
Valid. Totally valid, I say. Because that's really where they test it all out.
It really is. And we're not going to get into today's show because the All-Star race is still a good month off. But trust me when I say the gimmicks are getting even more gimmicky as we go to the All-Star race this year. That's a teaser for another episode, but trust me, if you really want to, feel free to go dig into the rules. You will leave being quite confused and perplexed. Then once you figure some of it out, you're going to go, well, this is just weird. So I wouldn't waste your time. We've got other stuff to hit first. As far as the truck race, Sean, the Xfinity race I thought was more fun, even though it was littered with cautions. I didn't feel like they were stupid cautions, kind of like we saw at Martinsville. Would you say that's fair?
That is actually one of the points that I was looking to somehow bring up there. But even though there was a lot of cautions at the end, it wasn't for drivers necessarily going for broke 100% of the time. It was just simply put, either they lost control of the car or something happened to the cars, or in the case of some, it just was wrong place at the wrong time.
Look, both the truck and Xfinity race, tires and fuel became part of the story. At one point, it sure looked like Ryan Sieg was going to collect a win, right? And then it was nowhere close because of the way the fuel stuff ran out. On Friday, they were saying really the tires were a bigger concern than the fuel, even though they were saving fuel, right? The truck race, hat tip to Tyler Ankrum. And I'm upset because on the cheat sheet, I even put on there, can Tyler Ankrum finally break out? Or will Tyler Ankrum break out? Like, I legitimately had the thought, this could be a place he finally gets it done. Yet, did I highlight him? Nope. Did I note that his odds were probably a little on the soft side and they probably should have been sharper? Nope. So I apologize. Clearly, I had a thought that this was plausible. It was in my mind, and I did not verbalize it very well to everybody. So I'm going to call that as a miss on my part. That said, Sean, the guys we said to watch and that we were in on were all fast. But due to the pit stops, the tire, and the way the cautions fell, I don't want to take anything away from Tyler Ankrum. He was fast all day. He ran a really excellent race. He stayed clean, but he was not the fastest trucks on the circuit for most of the day. He was one of the better trucks on the circuit for most of the day. I'm glad to see him break out. And you could see his happiness in victory lane. You could tell this has been wearing on it. Quite frankly, Sean, I think he's probably should have won 3 races by now. Legitimately. Like races that, whether a tire got cut, caution came out wrong, whatever, thought legitimately he should have had 2 or 3 wins before this race. So I'm happy to see it. Outside of that, Corey Heim kind of had his struggles. He was good, right? I enjoyed the race, man. It's hard for me to really pinpoint something that I can't pinpoint somewhere. It's like, man, this happened. It was enjoyable to watch a race play out organically where the finish isn't what you expected 2/3 through the event. I was really confident 2/3 we knew who the top 2 or 3 trucks were going to be. And Sean, Jeff Garcia, he got his way back into the top 5, but all the other guys that were kind of showboating around him at the start of the race, pit stops, timing, it all flipped everything upside down. Dare I say it reminded me of an old 90s race.
Oh, that's high praise coming from you right there.
I'm just saying that's, and people may not have said, oh, it wasn't a great race. I disagree. We got to, with 15 laps to go, nobody had Tyler Ankrum winning that race, or 20 laps to go, because I guess right around that caution, he took the lead, but you didn't see it. And they even talked about it in the booth, right? The guys they did pick to win were looking really good. And look, this is why I hate betting -125 plus 250 on drivers to win. This is racing. Too many times we have seen the fastest driver in car, driver in truck, not win, Sean. We've seen it so many times. In fact, am I off base if I were to say that the fastest truck in car probably only win 30% of the races?
I'd find that more true than not if you're looking at the truck and Xfinity levels. I think Cup, the favorites, win a little bit more often than that, I think.
Do you? Even with the chaos that we're getting at the end of the races these days?
Well, let me put it this way. Sometimes when I go forth and do my bets for Cup and put out race winner bets, a good amount of the time it involves at least maybe most of the drivers or some of the drivers are some of the top favorites there too. And I have noticed this in trends as well, that at least a decent amount of the time, the winner comes from one of those favorites there. It's only on occasion here or there, at least for Cup, I've been noticing within the last year or two, that it kind of does not get away from those favorites too often.
I will say this. The top 4 or 5 favorites, I'm in agreement with you on. My problem is I would rather bet the plus 400 guy that's the third favorite than the plus 175, plus 250 guy that's the favorite. I'm just referencing How many times? I'll give you an example. William Byron looked like the class of the field, 3 weeks ago? And then because of how pit stops came out, he ended up, to your point, came back from 6th to 2nd, right? He clearly probably had the fastest package. He didn't get the win. That's more or less what I'm referencing is even if you were to come to me and say, Rich, I know for a fact William Byron is going to be the fastest car on the track this week. There is not a doubt in my mind. I can prove it. I've seen the data. Every team in the garage feels the same way. And I still would say, Sean, his likelihood to win is still only 30%.
I think it. Let me put it this way. I think my logic comes more from like the top 4 guys or the top 5 guys to win.
And I agree. So. I'm in 100% agreement with you on that.
If you're talking about the top favorite, then yeah, I think I can agree with that statement a little bit more.
That's what I'm saying. I just don't want to chase that +2, that very low number. If the top favorite's at +400, 4-1, I'm good with that. I feel like the payoff is worth it. I don't want to take the risk at 2-1 or 2.5-1 when we see it didn't matter for betting because Jesse Love, by the time they DQ'd him, the bets had been paid and all of that, right? But That's a perfect example, right? Corey Heim at Martinsville, Sean with 50 to go. I thought it was Corey Heim's race to lose. Kind of was. He cut a tire, so he did lose, right? And what a comeback he did from what? He fell back to 12th or 15th and made it all the way back up into the top 5 or close to it. It was an incredible run.
Much.
Definitely had the fastest car, fastest truck, the whole deal. But here again, and 3/4 through the race, we would have said, yeah, he's the guy that's likely to win. And then it didn't happen. So I'm just giving an example of why, Tyler Ankrum, for example, is +1,400. I'm not necessarily saying those are the bets, to Sean's point, that I want to chase every week. But when you looked at, Casey Kane had decent odds. It's a shame someone wrecked into him. But when you look at, I don't remember who was the top one, but he was only +275, 225.
Something like that. And Kane, he just was in the wrong place at the wrong time. It was just
he was fast too, man. I'm going to piss some people off. Catherine Legg? No, that was not William Sawawich's fault. He was following that line. You were up out. You were getting past. You can't just come down when you're that much slower than somebody else. These cars do not have the acceleration of an open wheel Indy car. And I'm getting a little tired of you getting a buck pass because I'll be frank. I don't care what your name is. You have not looked good on the track. You have wrecked on your own all by yourself. We gave you a pass because it was kind of low-end equipment. You bought a ride for this race, and you caused the wreck. Own up to it. And she's getting too much of a free pass. I'll say it right now, Sean. She is getting too much of a free pass. And I went from let's give her a chance, I'm being a little harsh, to no, I'm out. There's too many other talented people that deserve a shot. I'm out.
I'm just going to say this, but Sawalich does deserve at least a little bit of the blame too. I do think he contributed to it a little bit too, because he could have had at least some kind of awareness to slow down too.
See, I disagree. When you're running a line like that, you're down on the bottom, you're in it. You're already back on the throttle on corner exit. She's coming down. So what's he supposed to? It's not like in the middle, on the straightaway, you dive down a little bit. In the corner, there's nowhere to dive to. You hit the brakes while cornering a car. It's the fastest way to spin out a car. So his only option is to let up. From what I heard on the audio, he did let up a little bit. She was that much slower. She should have kept it high. So I
agree with that part of it too, but I think there should have been a little bit more awareness still that she was even there too.
I don't know what he could have done without wrecking himself, I guess is my thought. I really don't. Because you hit the brakes in that spot, you're in trouble. You get it down on the apron, you're in trouble. You couldn't go high. She's too slow. I mean, I understand your point because he was gaining so fast. There had to be he could see he was gaining so fast and she was a little out of control. But I'm sorry, man. I'm in my line. It's your job to hold control of your vehicle and to not switch lines in the middle of the corner.
Even regardless of that, the spotter should have at least given him notice that she was there too.
Hey, Legg's losing it be careful. Maybe he feathers the throttle a little bit, but I have a hard time putting any blame on Sawalwich on this, especially when she's wrecked herself, 3 times and then got in the way 2 more times.
I'm just saying both of them deserve at least some blame.
I can't get there. I can't.
We can agree to disagree.
I'll say we're just going to have to agree to disagree on that one, Sean. I just can't get there. But and hey, I will openly admit I'm a little biased against her because I don't think she deserves the ride. And we'll talk about it later. She is going to be in the best equipment she has ever been in this week at this track. And I have some data to share with Mr. Jordan Anderson. So we'll touch on that. But I'm nervous for everybody that has to race around her this weekend, Sean.
Yeah, the Talladega thing, I'm not exactly thrilled in that respect.
You're not thrilled? So all of a sudden, now we're back. We're back on the same page on this one.
This is a different type of track that involves a different kind of racing, and in that regard, I'm not exactly thrilled with her. Why isn't she on a road course yet is what I'm wondering, because that's where her background is.
That's an excellent question. If you really want to set her up for success, why are we not running her at COTA? Why are we not running her at Sonoma? And at the very least, Sean, if we are going to go to ovals, shouldn't someplace slower like Martinsville or North Wilkesboro or someplace like that? I mean, I guess Phoenix is kind of in that, but Phoenix is a tough track, right? All 3 corners
in my
are
opinion,
different degrees.
It should not have been Cup where she made that Phoenix start. She should have went straight
Agreed.
to Xfinity or Trucks with that. That's where my head is at. I feel like the whole scheduling has just been mismanaged as far as how they're trying to get her experience into NASCAR. Personally, I think it should have been a lower series start. That's where I think unless you really have that big a pedigree where you're somebody that's like, I don't know, an Indy champion or a Formula One champion, for example, or a Supercars champion, then you should really just start out at the lower series, get some experience there first, and figure out how stock cars work instead of just dropping straight into the top series like that.
Let me ask you this. Does SVG get a full-time Cup ride if his first race isn't a road course?
He won that race in his debut.
Right. And I would argue he and other drivers talked about it. We watched SVG. There's things he was doing in the corners we weren't doing. There was things he was doing with his feet that we don't do, okay? That's my point. They set him up for success. They gave him top-notch equipment. Trackhouse equipment's right up there. And they took his skill set that he has excelled and completely succeeded at and said, hey, you've never been in these cars. They're kind of the same, but we're going to put you in a road course. You're going to be shifting gears. You're going to be on the clutch, not on the clutch, whatever. Set him up.
And it was a street course, in fact, too, which also plays into the background of supercars. So really, again, they did the right kind of research and preparation for this, and I don't think they did that with Catherine Legg in this case.
It's a money grab. It's a money grab for a sponsor is what it is. A team sees an opportunity to get a sponsor sees an opportunity to get their name on TV and everything else. And I'm sorry. She's got me very annoyed. And honestly, the people that keep coming at me saying I'm just trying to be sexist or whatever. No, I'm a skillist. And her skill level is nowhere near the competition she's running with. Like Sean said, let's put her in trucks. You want to see if she can hang? Let's put her in trucks.
Yeah, or if you are going to put her in Xfinity, put her in a road course instead of making all her road course starts in Cup.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Granted, the Cup car theoretically will be similar to an IMSA car that she ran years ago. Okay, so I understand that logic. But here again, then stick to road courses for now. There is no need. She has not. Let me put it to you this way, Sean. She has not added anything to the races she has been in, but she has most definitely detracted from the races she's been in. She has had a negative impact on the races she has been in to other competitors. I think that's what bothers me.
That is one stance that I think you can take, but I really just think it was just the preparation for the whole process was not done in the proper way for her.
Agreed.
And it's a shame because somebody, if you're going to put somebody into an environment that's not where their skill set is going to shine, it's going to show on track. And unfortunately, in this case, it kind of is.
It is. It is. You hit the nail on the head. So enough of that. Should we hit some news and notes?
Let's just first, I do want to quickly shout this out to close out on Rockingham, that some of the bets that I'd mentioned on this very show last week for Xfinity Series did end up hitting, including Jesse Love, who I named in the Core 4 betting for me. Core 4 betting winners, he ended up winning. So if you did play on, say, for example, DraftKings Sportsbook, you still got the payout for that. And for those that were on ESPN Bet that decided to try out the head-to-head parlay there with Eckes versus Sanchez and Mayer versus Creed, and I picked Eckes and Mayer to finish better, they both ended up winning on those legs, and that was a plus 238 two-legged parlay that also hit right there too.
That was good. I did say Jesse. I love Jesse Love. I did have him highlighted in the cheat sheet. He was someone I did not really push a lot of wins. I did push a couple of top fives. I was on Jeff Garcia for the top 5. That did cash. There was a couple of heads I did throw out there. I don't have them handy for me, so I apologize. They did hit. So it wasn't a complete loss. I would not crack it up to one of my best weekends, Sean, but I thought you did an excellent job going in blind and making some of those early calls.
Truly. And just one more thing to put a bow on Rockingham. We kind of have to talk about the Jesse Love DQ appeal, because Jesse Love and RCR, unfortunately for them, they lost that, and Sammy Smith remains the final winner there. RCR, they put out a whole statement about it too.
Well, before you get to that statement, shout out to Sammy Smith, because not only did he win the race, but he was a part of the Dash for Cash. So now his fine gets paid for with the bonus money from him winning the Dash for Cash. So hat tip to Sammy. Dale Jr. talked about it a little bit. Sammy's trying to turn a page. You and I have talked about Sammy, 2 years now? We're real high on this young man. So look, both I'll be the first to admit, Jesse Love and Sammy Smith, in my opinion, 2 years ago, I was saying they were the future of Cup. I'm still thinking that we're potentially going to see that. I really enjoy watching these two young men race.
You know, the crazy thing about Sammy Smith is technically he's a paid driver, because Pilot Flying J is going to be backing him no matter where he goes, as we've seen already in his tenure in NASCAR. But I think he's one of the best ones in that regard that we've seen in a while. So he's proven it right there.
And he did it without a cheated up car. I love you, Jesse Love, but it was from what and Sean, go ahead and read what you want to read about their statement. From what I read from the NASCAR side, it sure sounded like cheating to me.
Oh, yeah. This is what RCR said. RCR is disappointed in NASCAR's decision today to uphold the disqualification of the number 2 team. We will focus our efforts on moving forward and being competitive at Talladega this weekend. That's all they said.
Well, the RCR cars will be the favorite this weekend. So, I mean, would I be shocked to see them come back and go 1-2, for example? No, they did it at Daytona. So we'll see.
I think it's in the cards again, Rich. I really do.
I'm with you. I'm with you. So you're not going to get an argument out of me on it, bro. And look, we love the stories, and it's stuff like this that people can say what they want. The team's motivated. The team knew they had speed. They're pissed off about it. They know they're good at this type of track and racing. That there's going to be a lot of pumped up excitement, energy, testosterone, the whole 9 yards going into the Talladega weekend for the RCR guys.
Seriously. I mean, it's going to be hard to fade against those RCR guys this weekend in Xfinity. Their cars are on another level there.
And, you know, this goes back to Dale Sr. RCR has been this way. DEI was this way. Dale Jr. with Hendrick, ever since he left Hendrick, they haven't been quite the same. I don't know what it is that RCR, Dale Earnhardt, Dale Jr., I don't know what it is that they know, see, and feel. But, man, when they are in these cars and working with them, they're on a whole nother level. And I got to go look. I wonder who's doing the Xfinity stuff versus the Cup stuff, because the Xfinity program for the last 3 years has been incredible at these tracks, Sean.
As far as the whole Cup side of things, I have a theory where all the senior skills have been traveling.
Oh, really?
So do you want to hear it?
Yes, absolutely I do.
So, as we know, Dale Sr. was the greatest ever at these kinds of tracks. He passed those skills down to Dale Jr. And Dale Jr., he mastered and owned those skills. And I think Dale Jr. passed those down to Brad Keselowski because Keselowski was his protege for a while there, too, especially when he was under the Hendrick development system.
And he was really good because he got that. I mean, well, I guess that was Regan Smith that got robbed of the win against Tony Stewart, but Brad had a similar run in that was an off-brand. It was a black car, had red and yellow on it, was like an 09. Who was
it was the James Finch car, I think.
That's it, the James Finch car. Thank you.
Yeah. That was Brad's first ever Cup win, too.
Right.
He got that done.
Right.
So.
Right. And Brad he's had bad luck at Daytona, but he's been incredible at Dega. And you and I've talked about it at length. When in doubt, Joey and Brad will get to the front and we'll play block them. And
continuing on with the theory, I think Brad then passed those skills down to Joey. And then Joey has
agreed.
And then pretty much it's now been, I think, within the Team Penske fold because I think Joey then passed them down to Ryan Blaney. And now I think Cindric is starting to get that information too.
So what happened at RCR though in Xfinity? Like where has all this speed come from them? Is it just this car overlaps so much with the old car, you think?
I think there's certainly some plausibility to it, that's for sure. And I also just think that really Austin Hill is just that darn good at these types of tracks.
Yeah, but Jesse's right behind him now.
But that's also because Austin Hill's been there longer, and he's probably at least inherited some of that. He put some of that to Jesse Love, I think, too.
They do watch film, so to speak, right? They watch old races. They break down certain parts of the run when they're getting big runs or speeds or lap times. Like they do legitimate debriefing, just like we hear football players do. So that wouldn't shock me, but it is very interesting how you can see, because I'm with you. The Team Penske seems like they have it more figured out than everybody else, right? And Joey and Brad have for years have been some of the biggest blockers we have ever. Is there a driver out there that can make their car 3 lanes wide better than Joey Logano?
Out there in the Cup Series right now? No. Even though the problem with Joey is he just needs to finish these darn things. It's because he's getting right in front of them.
Well, if he wouldn't be so aggressive blocking, he might. But I'm just saying, I don't know of anyone else that blocks 3 lanes better than Joey Logano does.
He's great at it, but man, he's got to learn to finish these things again. I mean,
be a little less greedy.
It is ridiculous.
Be a little less greedy.
Yeah, exactly.
Greedy.
He needs to figure it out like Blaney has. Let me put it that way.
That's fair. Joey's too stubborn for that, though. I just don't know if that's going to happen. So, what other news and notes should we cover? Because there was a pile, like you said, but we're not going to be able to cover all of it. Some of it really is insignificant, at least for another couple of weeks to a month.
Well, we should at least cover the big one here right now. And that's the news that came out earlier today as we record this. And that is Rodney Childers and Spire Motorsports parting ways effective immediately.
This one has me just dumbfounded because they hired Childers away. He was the first hire away from Stuart Haas that anybody had. And he got there before Haley did. He handpicked Haley, was my understanding. And now they're keeping Haley. And look, you and I talked about it last 2 weeks. We said we have really been disappointed and expected more. So let me ask you this. Do you think, because Rodney Childers, most of his success came with the old car. Like, yes. We forget that, right? We forget that Harvick only ran the new car for a short term, and they didn't have anywhere near the success in the new car that they did. So let me ask you, do you think Rodney Childers is maybe no longer in his element with this new car? That maybe the place for him to be is Xfinity, for example.
I think that there is a small part of it to do that, because when you look back at the statistics, especially when you look towards even earlier this season, going back to last season when he worked with Josh Berry, or even the last year or two when he worked with Kevin Harvick, Rodney Childers has not been able to figure out this car that well. He really just hasn't.
And look, we don't want to beat him up, because there's plenty of other crew chiefs that we've seen the same thing with, right? There seems to be a couple of crew chiefs that have really kind of taken to this car, and others have really struggled, right? I mean, we aren't seeing – Kyle Larson has been doing great things in this car, right? Chase Elliott has not. And I've never been the biggest Alan Gustafson fan, but they always had speed, whether it was with the 24 with Gordon, whether it was with Chase Elliott. And to your point, Elliott's had some solid finishes, the only one to finish with all the top 20s and all that. But in all seriousness, from an eye test perspective, am I off base to say Chase is the slowest of the four?
He is the slowest, I'd say.
Right?
He just had – let me put it this way. We know Larson and Byron have been the top two with Hendrick for all the past couple of years since this next gen is
without a doubt.
Those two have also been the top two in the wins column in the next gen era so far as well. Bowman at times, he's been able to get up to the front, lead laps, and even get a win here or there too. Elliott, he just has not been able to do it on as consistent of a level as not, let alone even Elliott, Larson or Byron, but not even get towards the Bowman level as well sometimes.
Right. Even on the road courses. You know, Elliott was the road course ringer on the old car, and he openly admit he hasn't figured this car out on the road courses as well. But he hasn't been the speed there either. I mean, and we've heard this from Jeff Gordon. When they went to a new tire, it took them a while to adjust, and the new car, and sometimes it's a feel thing, right? They just feel right with what they had before. How much of it is, and I'm really curious now to see where Rodney Childers goes. Maybe he's a better fit as a competition director. Maybe he's a better fit as a crew chief in Xfinity. I don't know. What I do know is he has proven his worth in that series, in that NASCAR garage. I have a hard time believing he is going to be jobless for long.
Well, unless he himself decides to not pursue a job too, which that's in the realm of
that's possible. He could
well.
take some time off, right? He could easily want to take some time off. It's just that news was pretty massive, especially since it's not like he went to another part of the team. He straight up left. So that tells me one of two scenarios happened here, right? Somewhere there's a disconnect between Childers and the team. Either he feels like he's not getting the support he needs, or the team feels like he's not doing the job they want him to do, right? There's some sort of disconnect there.
That being said, I do also have some interesting observations to bring up after you finish this, Rich, there too.
Okay. Or Childers does want to be done crew chiefing. Those are the only two scenarios that I see on why he would leave the team.
Well, let me just bring up these observations because I'm not sure if you've been keeping up with this in particular, but you have to remember this, Rich. He had a car chief, Cheddar Smith. He lost Cheddar Smith to Gibbs.
That's right.
And then, just this past week, he lost that entire pit crew because Hendrick decided to take them all up and put them on Kyle Larson's team.
I forgot about that.
Maybe.
Okay,
so
now,
maybe.
Well,
he's just not feeling it, knowing that all the people that he's worked with are not on the team anymore.
Honestly, that's probably the most plausible scenario, which plays into my option one, right? There's disconnect there because if he feels like, wait, I'm not top dog. I don't even get to keep my guys. You wouldn't keep a guy that was my right-hand man, which, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Cheddar Smith go, and isn't he now crew chiefing Gibbs?
He's the car chief for Ty Gibbs' team now.
Okay. Who, by the way, just had his best run of the season the last Cup race.
Just there you go.
Cheddar Smith. Maybe Cheddar Smith's the answer to the puzzle, and it's not Rodney Childers. I don't know. But now the question is, does Cheddar Smith find a way to get Rodney Childers? Oh, my God. What if Rodney Childers goes to Gibbs in some fashion?
It's not out of the realm of possibility there, but so far, I'm not sure. The thing is, too, is that also both of them gave their own statements out as well. Both Spire and Rodney Childers himself both posted on social media today with some statements.
I'll have to go look them up.
I actually linked both of them in our rundown here, so you can see right there.
Well, aren't you freaking Mr. Handy making it easy on me? Geez, Sean, way to go.
So this is what Spire said on the whole thing. NASCAR is an ever-evolving sport, and the path to improvement isn't always comfortable. The break in the Cup Series schedule gave us a chance to evaluate where we are as a program. We took the opportunity to discuss the best path forward for everyone involved and the team, and Rodney agreed that it would be best for us to part ways. The statement continues on there about how Rodney's worked in the Cup Series for like 20 years, and that then they're just saying having the right combination of talent is as important as a result of the track, and they're just saying that they want to go in a different direction. Essentially, that's what Spire.
So I've got. All right. Well, here's Rodney's. Because I did see Spire's comment earlier. It's a typical PR one, right?
Yep.
Here's Rodney Childers. I know this is a shock, but also know that not everything works out perfect all the time. That's how life works. This was just one of those things that just wasn't working for either of us. I appreciate my time at Spire working with Justin Haley and this entire 17. We did a lot of good that is yet to be seen. And I wish them the best in the future. I also want to say thank you to everyone at Chevrolet, Mr. H, and everyone at Hendrick Motorsports for my time working with them again. It was a pleasure. Thank you to NASCAR, the officials, and most importantly, the fans for your support. For me, I'm going to take a little time, focus on the important things like my family and friends, and honestly just see what the racing world holds for me next. I know the man above will lead me in a direction that is best for me. Rodney Childers.
Yep. So you read the whole statement right there. So now what do you think of the situation?
I think it's a mix of one. There is disconnect between him and the team. Somewhere they weren't meshing. And whether that has to do with he felt like they were second fiddle to the Hendrick team. If that's the case, shame on Hendrick, because you probably should have done something to maybe keep Childers with you. I think he does want to take some time. I don't know that he was necessarily burned out, but I think this is a prime opportunity for him to be like, we'll just wait and see. There's no need to rush into anything. So that said, but the first thing I do is connect the dots. Cheddar Smith, I wouldn't be shocked if there's some sort of recruitment that goes on, that we hear about Rodney Childers in some sort of advisory role post All-Star race.
You know, there's other people that have been trying to make up theories about where Rodney Childers could go. Like, I've seen a couple of theories about people being like, oh, RCR should scoop him up for Kyle Busch or something like that. Or
I wouldn't mind that, to be honest.
Yeah, which that could be very interesting if that does play out right there. So,
and maybe with his Ford background, maybe front row or Penske makes sense. It just, I got to believe, to your point, if he's upset about some of the people in team moving around, I could see him, like I said, Joe Gibbs is not above poaching, man. Joe Gibbs is not above paying good money for stuff. It would not be out of the realm of possibility in my mind. Would I love to hear about Rodney Childers and Kyle Busch getting an opportunity? I'm not going to lie. I'd love to hear that. I have no idea how they think about each other. That may go together as well as oil and water. I don't know. But I would love to see something like that. And it makes me wonder, is Rodney better off with a veteran driver like a Kevin Harvick?
I mean, Kyle Busch is a veteran, so there you go. I also did see some people try to be like, Wood Brothers, get him back with Josh Berry again.
No, I don't think you mess with what Josh Berry's got going. I think that would be foolish. Josh Berry and the Wood Brothers have something good going on right now. The speed is back. They're gelling. Don't be making those changes. In my opinion, the Cheddar Smith move makes sense to Gibbs, and it's already showing dividends, it appears. So to me, I would think it would be more something like Kyle Busch would be a perfect example. The expectations and the results are not matching, right? Who's another one that's kind of that way? That, like, it's Ty Gibbs comes to mind, but again, they've already kind of are starting to deal with that, right? Does someone like a Jimmy Johnson go, hey, we could really use some veteran leadership in our garage area? Does someone like that reach out to him? Is he maybe a good fit with someone like Eric Jones?
I was going to say, bringing up legacy was another theory that I saw some people post. And I think that has some plausibility to it because remember, there's been some discussion and some rumors and some transactions going on about legacy trying to get a third team up and running and off the ground.
Right.
Maybe that's where he can go too.
Right. And he brings a veteran leadership that'll probably not available on that team. Not to mention, I'm not sold legacy stays with Toyota in the very near future, to be honest with you, Sean. With the Dodge news, someone's going to have to jump ship the Dodge. Right now, the only redheaded stepchild in the Toyota camp is legacy. The rest of them are partnerships. So they're the odd man out right now.
However, though, I do think also at the same time, I think Toyota will try their darnest to keep them there too. Really, I think the team that's most likely to jump out of any team in the Cup garage is Trackhouse.
Sure, because they're always going to be second fiddle as long as they're Chevy, right? Because they're going to be second to Hendrick always. And one could argue that even RCR, if they find some speed again, has had such loyalty with Chevy that I could see Trackhouse taking a second, a back seat to them. I'm just looking at is, Joe Gibbs was very clear when they made that move. The reason they wanted to go to Toyota was so that they were going to be the one. We are the top team with this manufacturer. With Chevy, we were never going to be that because Hendrick is there, right? With Ford, we could never be that because Penske is there, right? So that's the only reason I wondered, because if I'm Jimmy in the team, I'm feeling kind of unloved, right? All the other Toyotas have their own little thing going on, and we're off by ourselves.
But at the same time, though, Legacy is trying to establish their own notebook and establish their own package, too, in order to be separate away from the Gibbs aligned data, too, at the same time.
But do you think they'll ever gain in speed by doing that? I mean, the notebook Gibbs have is like this, and now Legacy's like this. I mean, are they ever going to catch up, you think?
Well, I'll say this much, that they've at least made some small gains this year.
Fair, but it's easy to make up 2 steps when you're 150 steps behind. It's another thing to make up the other 148 steps.
Well, let me just also put it like this, too. Toyota's helping to fund the team themselves. So Toyota doesn't want all their eggs in the Gibbs basket, per se, and they want to see more cars on the track in order to match the output that Ford and Chevy have as far as the amount of teams they have, too. So Toyota is not going to want to let Legacy go for that reason.
Which they do have the least. It's not even close, right? I mean, they are by far, and I guess it's closer now that Legacy has come into the fold. But one or two manufacturers are going to lose some teams. I mean, Dodge is going to take, if this happens, there's going to be 3 or 4 cars that are going Dodge at the very least.
Oh, totally. I think if their Dodge comes to Cup, you're going to see a previously established team jump over, maybe 2 even, and then maybe they might have a new team of their own that could crop up from the ashes as well, I would think. And my guess is, especially based on what we were discussing rumor-wise last week, I wouldn't be shocked if GMS decides to be a brand new team again and align with Dodge.
Which they could. And I read more into the story, and I did not realize the Casey Mears, Ty Dillon thing, and Dillon kind of outperforming him at the Cup level. Trucks, they were their own thing. They were forgotten about as a whatever piece in Cup, right? But for trucks, they were I don't want to say a focal point, but they were a contender, right? I mean, they were
you don't win 2 championships without having something behind you.
Right. It's the same thing I've said about Hattori Racing. They got championships. Now, maybe they haven't been the greatest lately, but they didn't just forget what it took to be fast, right? So that's very interesting. I want to see a 4th manufacturer. I think we are better off. Look, I'm not into socialism stuff, although it kind of works in sports. But in a perfect scenario, it would be great if we had 4 manufacturers or 5, and there were 10 cars under each manufacturer or 8 cars under each manufacturer, right? Where the numbers were the same across the board. But the caveat with that is, I'll be the first to admit, I think Toyota shares information better than all the other manufacturers. So I think Toyota's group will always be the creme de creme because the others aren't willing to share as much as the Toyota group is.
I agree with that, especially part of it is because 2311 is completely aligned with Gibbs there, and they share information all across. But even so, Toyota with Legacy, they still share some core information that's shared between all the teams regardless too. Now, Legacy's trying to build their own notebook, as they say it. They're trying to make their own rules package so that way they could succeed separately from Gibbs in the long term, which really, that's what Toyota also wants too, because if you have two different powerful arms of your manufacturer, that's only going to make it better, because then you could even go forth and get another Toyota team, have them then branch off from Legacy, and then boom, you got another top tier team right there.
Now, let me ask you this though, because unlike Chevy, who there's a couple of places, at least used to be a couple of places to get motors, a couple of places to get chassis. Last I heard, all the Toyota chassis were done by TRD and all the Toyota motors were done by TRD.
That's correct.
So my fear is, how much success can you really have going two opposite directions when you both have the same core?
Well, it determines in how you set up the cars fully too. Even if you have the same cars, you're not going to set them up one-to-one the same. And that information is different too. And you even get different information as far as racing lines, how drivers handle the cars, and everything like that too. If you're, say, Eric Jones or John Hunter Nemechek, you're not seeing the information that, say, Denny Hamlin or Tyler Reddick is getting. You're not getting that same sort of info. For Eric Jones and John Hunter, they're only seeing the information that those two provide to each other, and that's really it. And whatever Toyota is allowed to give them that's shared between all the teams.
I guess what I'm getting at is I feel like there's certain things that we know work, right? So even though, to your point, the setups are different, I don't believe Chase Briscoe runs the same setup as Gibbs and runs the same setup as Denny and so on and so forth, right? I think we would agree there's probably some overlap, but they each have their own field, they own one, right? But
yes, they do. But the difference is that they can see that information if they really
they can share that. And that's where I'm saying I don't know how much Legacy can catch up without having vision. If I have vision on 4 notebooks or 6 notebooks, to your point, because of 2311, 6 notebooks, there is so much more information I can gather from those 6 than the 2 I have. Like, there is no way over time that those 2 are ever going to be enough. And there are certain things found in the first 6 that if maybe we had that as a foundation, we could build something off of that was more helpful. I guess that's where I'm at with it. I don't know that I can conceptualize them ever catching up entirely. Now, to your point, though, that is exactly what Chevy's done. Maybe we haven't seen it lately, but we have seen success from multiple Chevy teams that don't, to your point, don't share internal information like Gibbs and 2311 do, right? Trackhouse and Hendrick aren't in the same partnership, right? We agree there?
If anything, Trackhouse is in the same umbrella right now as RCR.
Okay. So perfect example. Yet 2 years ago, we could have had the argument Trackhouse had the best Chevys, right? I mean, would you agree that was at least a fair argument?
Very fair argument too. And you know what? You bring up 2 years ago, the RCR Chevys were also fairly strong 2 years ago too.
Yeah, good point. Both Trackhouse and RCR seem to be lacking a little bit right now, and Hendrick seems to have picked up whatever that is. Now, we're not even talking about the other smaller Chevy teams that nobody talks about, right? So I guess I'm talking myself into your point of you can have separate sets of notes. My beef, though, is there is no way Legacy is ever going to – they need some help to it. At this point, they are light years behind a base package that those other Toyotas have. And I don't know how much they can really effectively get past that.
That's something that we can only figure out as time goes along, because there's also a counterpoint that you can make too, that if for some reason, like say, for example, we go to yet another different car, and then say, for example, the Gibbs notes are not relevant and not good, but Legacy relies on their own notes and they're good.
It's a whole different story.
That's a totally different thing that could come into play too.
It'll be interesting. I mean, Jimmy knows what it takes to win. So as much as I knock him in the soccer club, I'm at the point we'll start calling them legacy. I feel like they've made enough strides where they're not an embarrassment, so to speak. I still don't agree with Jimmy hopping behind the wheel. I think it's an ego boost and pathetic. It takes away from any fandom I had for him. But as a team owner, I'm not naive in thinking he is okay with being mediocre, because he's not.
And it even shows in the point standings so far. John Hunter took a very big jump in the point standings compared to this time last year, and he's fighting for a top 20 points position right now. And although Eric Jones is kind of disappointed and he's not as good as he was this time last year, let's at least put it this way, that the lowest legacy car in the standings is at a higher point overall compared to this part of the season last year.
They had to make baby steps. They're not going to make leaps and bounds fast. And I would argue they've done a great job so far this year. And that's why I said I will remove the soccer club moniker, although I still think it's a horrible team name. And at least give them enough respect of, hey, you guys are doing something right. It's getting improvements. You're not just backmarker jobbers at this point. So should we get into what's coming up this week, Sean? Because I see we've talked things to death already that we didn't mean to.
Well, that's perfectly fine. Hopefully our listeners and viewers have enjoyed our little discussion about the inner workings of teams and how they worked right there.
I think it was fun. I'm not going to lie.
Because we'll just get right on into Talladega and preview it. But what is there to say about Talladega other than we can expect this race to get wild? It's pack racing, which I'm sure is your total favorite.
Oh, I love it. Of which I read the biggest big one was last year's big one.
Yeah, 28 cars. That's almost 75% of the entire field.
My gut feeling is we will see a very calm Talladega race until at least 3/4 of the race. At least.
Final stage happens every time.
I was going to say, I'm thinking the last 20 laps in the final stage, all bets are off at that point. But I will not be shocked. This is my prediction, Sean. Call me out next week. We are going to see at least 220 laps of conveyor belt racing.
I could believe that. I could believe that it's going to be conveyor belt, with the only small exception being like the last lap of every stage where somebody's just going to try to go for playoff points. But even outside of that, it might still be common conveyor belt like.
And I guess 200's not right. I did math backwards because they only run 188 laps. So I'm going to go with 150 laps of conveyor belt racing and at least 8 laps of chaos.
Truly, I think that is going to be in play. But you know what? What I will say is that as far as betting is concerned, for those that are new to betting on Talladega, you're going to want to spread the love around as far as winner bets are concerned.
Bet little amounts, more of them, and chase longer lines. For example, I did check lines today. Nobody's under plus 1,000. Nobody is less than 10-1 to win the race, okay? I made a note in our sheet that I don't really want to place a bet for anyone under 20 to 22-1, personally. The odds of someone at 35-1 or higher winning this race is actually pretty good. It's happened, 5 out of the last 7 pack races, or 5 of the last 8 pack races. The odds of the winner have been 3,500 or more, or something like that. I'll have to find the stat. It's something ridiculous. So I'm betting. Go ahead.
Also, I was going to say, this is an interesting statistic as far as the winner is concerned, but each of the last 6 Talladega races have featured a different winner every time.
Really?
Yeah. We had Chase Elliott winning once, Ryan Blaney winning once, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. winning once, Kyle Busch winning once, Ross Chastain winning once, and Tyler Reddick winning once. And that's just the last 6 races right there.
All right, put your bets in. It's William Byron. He hadn't won here yet. William Byron.
There you go. I mean, he won the Daytona 500 earlier this year too. So
I know. I know. Give me William Byron. I'll eat crow and die on that. Just Finsty, you want to bet Willie B? Bet Willie B this week, buddy.
Not a bad week to do it there. We'll elaborate more on that soon because I have some facts to say about that too. But also continuing back into the strategy aspect there too. We know we mentioned about the betting, but as far as DFS is concerned, you're going to want to chase place differential and more place differential and just hope your drivers survive.
If you have, I kid you not, I did a lineup that cashed with damn near $10,000 in money left in the bank account. I am not exaggerating. It was like 96, 9,200, 9,400. I put the lineup in because I seriously was like, it's $1. I'm chasing nothing but place differential. I'm only betting on bets that nobody else is going to have. I'm going completely contrarian. And by George, Sean, if that wasn't one of my better paying lineups. So I'm 100% with you. Not saying look to not spend 10 grand, but if you find yourself going, wow, I got $5,400 left. Don't worry about it. Do not force yourself to go spend up. You will.
In my opinion, there is no truly bad lineups. This is one of the few weeks where I will say that because every single driver in the Cup field has the capacity in order to at least gain positions, whether it's by just pure attrition or by legitimate speed. The possibility is there.
I will say this. If you build a lineup where nobody is outside the top 10, that is a bad lineup.
I'm just going to say this, but if you're trying to go and get somebody inside the top 10, you better hope that they lead laps at the very least in order to counteract the place differential risk that they put on. Well, you better hope to goodness.
And you know what? I'll promise you they won't get fastest laps. You know what I found during my Xfinity research today, Sean?
Go ahead, share.
So all the guys with the highest percentage of fastest laps, you want to hear these names, Sean?
This should be fun.
Oh, let me pull it back up here. Percentage of fastest laps. Number 1, Jordan Anderson with 5.4%. Patrick Emmerling. Yeah. Patrick Emmerling with 4.0%. Alex, how do you say it?
LeBay, you mean?
LeBay. Alex LeBay, 4.0%. Matt DiBenedetto, 3.6%. And Leland Honeyman, 3.6%. Do you know what I found a common trend of all those drivers is, Sean?
Notice how most of those names are not the typical favorites.
That's where I was going with it. None of those guys are guys that I'm like, sign me up. Don't get me wrong. I love Jordan Anderson as a rule. And this is where I was saying, I was hinting with Catherine Legge earlier. She's going to be in Jordan Anderson equipment for Xfinity. He does have good equipment here. So she does not get the excuse of the equipment wasn't very good. So, but those are all drivers that are maybe punt options for me, but I promise you none of them are core options in any race or any lineup I've ever built. And that just goes to show you, we can't count on fastest laps because it was you and Mark, I think, that pointed it out earlier this year. The guys that set the fastest laps at these tracks are the guys in the back because they're catching the draft. The guys at the front running half throttle playing games, they ain't setting fastest lap times.
Oh, no. That's exactly why, really, if you're going to be rostering drivers from the front, you better hope they lead laps because otherwise that is a total risk. And I'd only do that in a tournament setting. And even then, it's not something I'm going to strongly encourage at that.
Sean, I may have 1 or 2 drivers that start inside the top 10 in my lineup. Maybe. I'm going to go with highly unlikely, though.
Yeah. I think I'm going to probably take a similar approach as well. Unless some of the names are ones that I expect in order to probably stay up there. Like if you told me...
I'm going to say, give me Austin Hill, Jesse Love, right? If I told you they're starting in the top 5, I have no problem using them. You?
Totally. I think as far as Xfinity is concerned, I think there is more room for a dominator in order to take over a race compared to, say, Cup this weekend, because Cup, I think, is going to be all over the place as far as lap leaders are concerned.
If Joey Logano starts in the top 5, would you use him?
Maybe in just one lineup, but that's about it.
Okay. I think that's a perfect example because we've talked about this before, right? He has a knack for getting up front. He has a knack for throwing a lot of blocks. So if we were going to potentially look at a guy potentially leading a lot of laps, there's maybe 3 or 4 names on the list: Joey, Brad, Denny, maybe Byron.
You could also throw Austin Cindric on there too.
Cindric or Blaney, maybe, right? So maybe 5 or 6 guys. But here again, to your point, how many times are you going to use one of those guys in your lineup, right? Maybe one in one of the lineups, and then you're looking elsewhere if I'm thinking correctly.
Truly, I think where the sweet spot is going to be is within like the high 10s and maybe the 20s. I think that's really where the sweet spot is going to be.
I would love to have someone like Ty Dillon start 25th, because I think he's going to start too far forward that people won't use him, where I kind of think he's fishing for a top 10. You know what I mean? Like, I will gladly use him as a contrarian play in a tournament setting.
Yeah, I think recognizing which names are going to be where, I think is going to be crucial and essential towards figuring the final strategy out.
I will say, going to Daytona and Daytona, from picking from a midweek standpoint, I hate doing it. I really, really hate doing it. We could play the odds. I honestly don't mind seeing qualifying because I don't think the odds will change that much. I don't think you're going to see Tyler Reddick go from 10-1 down to 5-1 because he had a good qualifying run. I just don't see that happen.
If anything, I could see him go deeper if he doesn't do well in qualifying.
Exactly. And that's why I'm 100% with you. And that's why I'm saying I'm not betting any of that. Let's see how qualifying goes. Let's see if we find any off lines because someone's sleeping because of a bad qualifying run, or maybe power steering broke during practice, so they're starting near the rear and nobody's giving them the time of day, when you and I know they got the part fixed. It's fine. I don't care if they start 35th or if they start 3rd. They have as much of a chance of getting to the front by lap 188. So I'm right with you. That's why I'm not too hung up on us breaking down the whole DFS slate, Sean, because until we see qualifying, I don't think it matters.
I don't think it's going to be a huge impact. I think if you wanted to talk about the betting a little bit more, I think there's a little more wiggle room to talk about that compared to the DFS. So
agreed. And honestly, what are we looking at there? Driver history, right? Because we haven't been to Dega yet this year. Dega and Daytona are different. As much as they are similar, there is significant differences. One being where the start-finish line is, which sounds crazy, but you and I have seen that start-finish line where it's at be significant from a winner-loser standpoint. It's wider, so we get theoretically more available 3-wide racing. But we've seen it with certain drivers. We talked about Brad Keselowski. I am thoroughly blown away by his data numbers at Dega versus Daytona. It is kind of mind-blowing.
Very much so. And you know what? Actually, I'm going to bring this up too, because this is a very interesting statistic I just analyzed looking at the entire list of drivers within the last 6 years. But guess how many drivers have led more than 100 laps in the last 6 Talladega races total overall?
How many?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. You've got about 1,000 laps run, right? Between all of them. Oh, I'm going to go with 5.
It's not even close to 5.
What are we at? 1?
It is exactly just only one driver. One driver has led 100 or more laps within the past 6 Talladega races combined. That should be a statement telling you right there why this is not a week to look for dominators.
Who was it? Joey Logano?
It was not Logano. Logano was close, but he didn't get there. It was Blaney.
I would say Blaney then. Okay. Because at first, when you first said it, I was like, oh, just one. And then I was like, well, if we've run 1,000 laps over those 6 years, I could see someone leading, a bunch of them. But yeah, that makes sense. Only one. Wow.
Ryan Blaney with 116.
All right. So you've got the data handy. How many drivers have had 6 top 10s in the last 6 races? I'm going to go with 1.
0.
Okay.
The most that actually anybody has had within the past 6 races at Talladega was 4, not even 5.
Okay. So you get the picture I'm trying to paint, don't you, Sean? I can see the look you're giving. You know exactly where I'm going with this, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
Even from a betting standpoint, I love top 5s, top 10s. I'm not betting it this week, kids. The dogs are just going to have to deal with it. I'm not betting it. I will pick 5, 6, 8 names and throw a buck or two, maybe 5 to win, and hope I catch lightning in a bottle, man.
The only other betting type that I'd be willing to maybe even humor is a head-to-head bet.
I would say head-to-head I might do. I could F around with some head-to-heads. But here again,
I've got one even today as a little tease for later.
All right. But even still on a head-to-head, Sean, aren't we kind of hoping and praying? Because we're going off of track history, right? Track history is going to say driver A is the better play than driver B. But confidence level, would you be as confident, say, if we were at a Charlotte or Pocono or Coda? Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely
I wouldn't be.
Not.
No. I mean, I almost want to be like, okay, if the data says this guy's the obvious play, I'm betting the other guy. You know what I mean? Like that's where my thought process is right now with Talladega.
Truly, truly. And you know what? I think that overall kind of sums it up pretty good.
Well, should we cover the drivers and then we'll cover the hot topics here? Because I think we've covered Dega pretty well. Our cheat sheets and article will go much more in depth. I will have some notes as best as possible on the cheat sheet. Oh, no, I'm not. Well, I forgot to
Mark
look.
is doing it.
Mark's doing the cheat sheet. So I will be putting some notes after practice. Well, there is no practice. After qualifying, I will put some notes in the Discord channel. Just my thoughts. I will have as much overall race data info for you all in the overview article. But again, from a betting standpoint, Sean's right. I don't think much changes. I'd rather see if lines drop. From a DFS standpoint, we might as well be, I don't know, talking tiddlywinks until we get to see where they qualify.
Yeah, once the starting positions are all confirmed and we know who's starting at the front and who's starting at the back, then I think that's where we start to figure out the puzzle. And even then, there's no guarantee that our solution is going to be the one that unlocks the whole big giant chest of cash. So,
if you ever wanted to get freaky with a lineup, this is the week.
Truly. You want to throw JJ Yaley or BJ McLeod into a lineup? It might actually be a winning lineup.
You may win because you're going to have 0.3 ownership, 0.3% ownership. And if they end up with one of their top 15 runs, which they have done, you're going to look like a freaking genius because the cheapest guy in the slate just scored you 45 points and nobody else had him.
Exactly.
All
right, let's get into the list of the part-timers here and the notables. So read us off for Xfinity. It's quite a big list for Xfinity this week,
it is.
Rich.
And you made a great note here. There's more drivers than spots. They only start 38. We have 41 entries, so 3 drivers will go home. We got Patrick Emmerling in the 07 SS Greenlight Racing car. Eric Almirola is back in the number 19 Joe Gibbs Racing Machine. Do not sleep on Eric Almirola. Jeffrey Earnhardt is in with Sam Hunt Racing, the number 24. Jake Garcia is back in an Xfinity ride in the number 29 RSS Racing. I'm kind of curious to see that one play out. Catherine Legg will be in the number 32 Jordan Anderson Racing vehicle. Greg Van Alst will be in the number 35 Joey Gase machine. Cesar Baccarella will be back in the number 45 for Alpha Prime Racing. Joey Gase will be driving his own vehicle in the number 53. Mason Maggio in the number 66 Motorsports Business Management car. Leland Honeyman will be driving for Cope Family Racing again, the number 70. I will say this, Derek Cope has had decent luck and success at Daytona, not as much at Dega. I am kind of curious to see how Leland Honeyman does, though. It's an interesting name to watch. Austin Green, the number 87, also with Jordan Anderson Racing. And Jussie, I'm going to butcher this again, man. And I had it nailed last year. Jussie Iwuji.
Close. Iwuji.
I really like him as a car owner. He is not a good driver, but he'll be running the number 91 DGM Racing car.
Which, all things considered, is not exactly bottom of the floor equipment.
It's not terrible, but I wish Jesse got mad. I even called him out on Twitter, said, dude, you're a better owner than you are driver. Just be honest about it. He didn't care for that.
I'm sure. I'm sure if you were told that too, you probably wouldn't like that as well. If you had pride with racing.
But you know what? Richard Childers was told that, and you know what he said? Yep, that's true. And he became a car owner.
Again, it's all based on if you have pride as a racer or not, too, or if you have more pride as an owner, I'd say.
I would say, I think you also have to be honest with yourself too, Sean. You know what I mean? Like, you can be prideful. Ricky Hendrick was another one. He knew he was going to be a better owner than he was a driver. I mean, Rodney Childers loved driving and still drives late models, but he said it in an interview one time. I'm a better crew chief than I was a driver. I am not as good of a driver as the guys that are driving my cars. I think, we talked about before the show, a little less greed, a little more humility and honesty with ourselves, I think would go a long way.
I think that's fair to assess too. I agree.
So I probably didn't need to say what I said. To your point, I was being it.
Yeah. For Cup, we have JJ Yaley as mentioned in the number 44 for NY Racing. We have BJ McLeod as mentioned in the number 78 for Lift Fast Motorsports. And I'm deliberately saying this last name for last because this is the one that excites me. But Anthony Alfredo is back in Cup in the number 62 for Beard Motorsports. That's going to be fun.
He totally let us down at Daytona, though, man. He left a really bad taste in my mouth from Daytona. You and I were both all over Alfredo in that 62 machine, man. And, dude, he left us looking like we were holding our you-know-what's in our hand.
That may be so, but Talladega's been a better track for him than Daytona has, especially in a Cup car. So I'm willing to give it another shot, especially if he's burned us then. Maybe that means the ownership is going to be lower, too.
I bet it will be, because I know we weren't the only ones pushing him last time, and he had a lot of us with egg on our face. And it's sad because he's been good at these plate tracks, Xfinity, Cup, especially when he's been in the 62 car. So we'll see.
We shall very much see. But you know what? Before we get into the rest of our driver picks, let's just recap and also plug this in again. But we are a part of FantasyGuru.com. So you can go forth and get any of the packages there, the MVP, the Platinum, the VIP, or the All-In to get our coverage and more. So the MVP, that's about $80 for the whole year, gets you all the sports covered at Fantasy Guru, with the exception of football and baseball. That's NFL and MLB. If you want that, though, we do have separate packages and options for that. You can get the MLB content available now with Ray Flowers and the rest of the MLB team killing it as always. You can hit up support at fantasyguru.com in order to know the best possible packages and deals that are available. Tell them that you want to be hooked up, and they'll hook you up. Just be nice, be respectful, be kind, be happy. And don't forget to also subscribe and hit like as well on our pod. So,
I always forget to tell people to hit like and subscribe. Good call, Sean.
There you go. Now that we've gotten all the little promotional stuff out of the way, let's talk about some drivers real quick here. Top price picks to watch.
So you hit us, Sean, because I don't disagree. I will say this. I am good with a whole bunch of the top price guys. It's going to come down to qualifying. One driver I will not push and I will not recommend is Kyle Larson. I know he ran better at Daytona, but I still can't get there, Sean.
To be fair about Larson, he is a little bit better at Talladega than he is at Daytona because he's at least scored more than one top 5 finish in his Cup career at this track. But even so, he's not a strong push for me. Not a strong push either. No. As for the other drivers I am pushing, I've got Ryan Blaney, William Byron, and Chase Elliott. So Blaney, he's overall, as mentioned, he's led more laps than anybody else at this particular track. He also is tied for the most top 5s in the last 6 races with 3, alongside Brad Keselowski, who's also in the salary range. He's won before within the last 6 races. He has the 3rd best average finish of all drivers in the field this week of 12.5 within the last 6 races. And those Team Penske cars are always really, really speedy at this track type. Now, Chase Elliott, he's going to be one to watch, I think, as well, because Hendrick cars tend to do pretty solidly at this track. He has an average finish of 11.8 within the last 6 races, which is only beaten out by his teammate, William Byron, who, by the way, fun fact about Byron, he's the only driver to finish in the top 20 in each of the last 6 Talladega races, which is quite impressive to do. He also leads the field with 4 top 10s in those 6 races, shared by one other driver that I will be mentioning later on. So,
you know what else he has, Sean?
A Daytona 500 victory.
In addition, you know what else he's got going for him?
Tell us.
He's a Maletto Gutshot Call of the Week. I was already mentioning him earlier in the show, and now you just gave me all the data, and it's like, I can't not push him now. If I changed anything, I might go Hamlin or Keselowski over Elliott. Again, without seeing qualifying and stuff, it's kind of a moot point. I like the data you pulled for Chase and Hendrick there specifically. He's really got me wanting more lately. So I'm uneasy with him, but otherwise I don't disagree. And like you and I said, I was already hollering about Byron, and I did not have all that data in front of me yet. I'm still doing my articles. So I've done the Xfinity digging. I haven't done the Cup digging. So gosh darn it, Sean. Now you've got all the data point to him. Plus, I'm saying roll the dice. So I'm with you, man. Let's go Byron. Willie B, as Finstey likes to say.
Yeah, Willie B. Going to be riding with Willie B. Like it. Now let's get into our mid-tier drivers to watch, unless you got anybody else you want to push here, Rich.
No, like I said, I'm with you. I'm looking more Hamlin, and I think Keselowski. I was a little disappointed Keselowski's pricing as high as it was. Given how he's run this year, I know his history at Dega, but 9,600 is a bit of a steep price for a guy that, what's he have, two or three top 10s this year?
He's not even finished in the top 10 at all this year.
Okay, so that's a luck and a prayer. The one saving grace with his price point being that high, I can't, unless he qualifies 30th, I see his ownership being under 10%.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be up there, considering he's not even sniffed the front of the pack at all this year.
No, and 9,600 is pretty steep price to pay for a guy that you're like, yeah, he's not really done anything.
That's why, as far as the top priced options are concerned, if you told me I have to have a top price guy, I don't mind Elliott for the salary he's at a flat $9K, especially when the consistency of at least finishing top 20. If he doesn't get the best qualifying run, you can at least trust that in order to have him deliver a capable finish. He's finished top 15 in 5 of the last 6 races at Talladega. So, yeah. I know we don't love it, but I think it's personally, I think he's not going to have the ownership as much as people think, though, too.
That's what I'm saying. The pricing almost makes it advantageous in that it's gonna depress his ownership.
Truly. Mid-tier options. Let's go right here. I've got we share 2 of the same drivers here, so I'll mention those 2 first. Alex Bowman and Todd Gilliland. So Bowman,
Gilliland's
I think,
so good here, man.
For real. The Todd father, we got to rely on him today, especially with Front Row Motorsports equipment. And Front Row, they're always pretty good on these kinds of tracks right there, Rich. We've seen it before. We used to see it with Michael McDowell a lot. And then Todd, he's gotten his fair share of solid finishes. He scored positive place differential in almost all of his starts at Talladega, which is crazy.
And I'm with you on Bowman. I mean, you mentioned Hendrick already. We could argue Bowman is a smoking deal compared, since his pricing is so much less than the other 3.
He's under 8K on DraftKings. He's 7,900. And even on FanDuel, he's even more of a discount there.
That's so cheap, Sean. For a guy that perennial, consistent top 10 guy at these tracks?
To put it into perspective there, he's participated in 5 of the last 6 Talladega races in the next-gen car. 4 of those finishes were 16th or better with 2 top 10 finishes in there.
Okay.
And
so he's a top 15 guy.
He's also scored positive place differential in 4 out of 5 of those starts at Talladega, too.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say he's a bargain. So I'm with you. I like your third guy, dude. I really do. I went a different route.
Truly. I got Ricky Stenhouse Jr. as the third guy within my mid-tier options. So Ricky
start ducking. People are going to start throwing stuff at you, Sean.
Well, I'm going to throw up my shield and defend this one because Ricky, he's actually won at this track. He's one of the last 6 winners at this particular track. In fact, he's the most recent Talladega winner, and he's been top 5 in the last 2 Talladega races last season. He's been top 15 in 3 out of the last 4. And if you really want to boil down to it, he scored positive place differential in each of the last 5 Talladega races. So people might want to throw stuff, but the facts are the facts and numbers don't lie. Stenhouse, he has proficiency at this track, especially recently.
I'm rolling the dice on Bubba Wallace, man. I keep saying another win is coming at these places, and he's actually been running well just about everywhere. And honestly, his attitude is so much improved. And I know you told me that, told us that the crew chief basically had a sit down with him and said, we're going to have better attitudes and a better frame of mind. I think it matters. I think it's showing up in his runs, even though the finishes haven't been there. I'm going to use Bubba Wallace. I feel like his pricing's fair this week.
I don't mind the call, especially if he ends up qualifying outside the top 10. I'd be willing to throw a shot at that for sure. He's led in 3 of the last 4 Talladega races, so he is likely to find his way to the front at some point. So he's got the good equipment to boot too, because when I think about Toyota teams, the team that's had displayed the most speed consistently in the last few years out of the Toyota teams has been 2311. So. Yeah.
Especially at these tracks. Toyota has struggled at these tracks, right? And Bubba's been like a saving grace for them, honestly, because Reddick doesn't particularly run well here.
Outside of the one win he snuck away with.
Yeah, but I like how you said snuck away with, because he kind of stole it, in my opinion. But
he did. That was basically McDowell and Keselowski going at it, and then when Keselowski spun McDowell, Kes did not have enough speed, and then Reddick just shot by him right at the start-finish line.
He had no and the thing is I blamed that one on McDowell. That was a Joey Logano dumb block, is what that was. I get you do everything you can to win a race, but you can't switch 2.5 lanes at 190 miles an hour when nobody's letting up because it's the end of the race. Like, you were done. The moment you decided to block, it was over for you. And honestly, the moment you realized you needed to block, it was already over for you. Like, that's what's sad. By the time it came to him making that decision, it was lost, man. He had no prayer. So, no, I'm with you. I'm digging the numbers, Sean. I'm digging the numbers.
Truly. And also shout out to Michael McDowell, because I did actually consider him for this tier as well. Even though he's with Spire now instead of front row, he's still got the skills in the knack, as he's finished top 15 at both the Daytona 500 and the first race in Atlanta earlier in the year with this rule package with Spire. So there you go.
Well, should we talk about the sleepers and bargains then?
Yeah, let's get right to it there. So basically, remember when I mentioned about the other driver that has 4 top 10 finishes? Yeah. That driver is the first one on my list, Eric Jones. 4 top 10s in the last 6 races at Talladega.
When I think of drivers that are really good at taking care of their equipment, he's the first one I think of. And what are 3 places really, that he consistently seems to just run well at? Daytona, Talladega, and Darlington. And we've talked about this at length at Darlington. You got to take care of the equipment. Hat tip to Eric Jones, because even when the speed's not there, he is so good about knowing his limits and driving within them that it's impressive, man. I mean, we just went at length about Legacy and how they've struggled, and he's the only guy with 4 top 10s in 6.
Well, actually, him and Ryan Blaney are the only two.
Oh, that's right. Blaney. I forgot about Blaney. Still, only two of them. Blaney's not shocking, right? We've talked about Penske and their dominance here. But Eric Jones is. And I like the call, Sean. I got caught sleeping on him. I didn't have Eric Jones on my list. I'm sleeping on him. I'm going to have to make a change.
If you even wanted to go further back than the next gen car, last 10 races, he's only he has 7 top 10 finishes. He finished 5th in his very last start in October 2024, and at one point he had a streak of 4 consecutive top 10 finishes. So he knows how to finish races here. And if you want even more of another more recent note, remember that he almost won the Daytona dual race earlier in the year too.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot about that.
Truly. Now, as for the other 2 drivers on my list, well, one of them I already mentioned earlier, Anthony Alfredo, because his statistics at this track are actually quite insane when you think about the price point that he has, because within 4 starts at Talladega there, he has 3 finishes at 12th or better, but he scored positive place differential every single time. And that includes this race 1 year ago when he drove for Beard Motorsports and led 4 laps as well. So quite insane considering that he is right now, as you look on the ladder, he's the 4th cheapest driver in the entire field.
Which at this place, I love it. Love it.
And then as for the last driver on my that I have here on my list, it's Riley Herbst. So Riley, he's a driver that's performed pretty well in the Xfinity Series at this style of racing before, but he also does have 2 Cup Series starts at Talladega, and he also has 2 top 20 finishes, which are anchored by a ninth place run during October 2023. So he does have experience with the next gen car at Talladega. So Riley, I think, is going to be a driver who I think people are going to overlook, and I really think they should not this week.
His Xfinity numbers are top 5 in everything. He's percent of laps running the top 15, not percent of fastest laps, because that was everybody we didn't know. But all the other matrix I was looking at, he's not racing in Xfinity, but he shows up there. So I'm with you, Sean. And the fact he has had low ownership every week, and people are sleeping on him,
I think the last couple of weeks has been not as kind of Riley as it was at the very beginning of the season. But at the very beginning of the season, we had Daytona and Atlanta. He finished 17th in both races and scored positive place differential. Keep that in mind, too.
Sense. So here's the names I got. Now, I threw a curveball at the end here. Really, there's only one name I'm probably looking to because I'm being a little crazy. But I have been impressed. Ty Gibbs in the past has run very well at these types of tracks in Xfinity. They finally seem to have turned a page a little bit. Carson Hocevar was another name when I was looking at old Xfinity data that came up. So that's the name. Josh Berry. I don't want to miss him because he is a part of that whole Penske clan, so to speak, with Wood Brothers. Wood Brothers runs well at these types of tracks, more so Daytona than Talladega. But honestly, Sean, because of his price point, I think my favorite punt option is Ty Dillon.
I like the Ty Dillon call there. He's actually scored positive place differential in, I think, all but 2 or 3 of his Cup starts. So that right there already makes me like Ty Dillon, and especially when you consider that he's with Kaulig Racing, and Kaulig tends to do pretty solidly on this style of racing. I like that. I actually almost considered Ty Dillon as one of my own choices here too. That's how much I like him this week.
Oh, that makes me feel even better. Well, let's hit should we go through our core then?
Yep, let's quickly go through it here. So my DFS core 4, I got William Byron. He's 10K on DraftKings, 11K on FanDuel. Alex Bowman, 7,900 on DraftKings and 7,800 on FanDuel. Todd Gilliland, who's 7,200 on DraftKings and 6,500 on FanDuel. And then Eric Jones at 6,400 on DraftKings and 5,000 on FanDuel. Hit us with yours, Rich.
Give me Byron, give me Bubba Wallace, give me Gilliland, and give me Ty Dillon. I believe his price point is $6,000 on DraftKings.
Yes, you are correct about that. He is a flat 6K. And then if you look towards his salary on FanDuel, he's only 3,500.
Steal.
Truly a big time steal. Let's get into the betting core for us real quick. For me, I've got Ryan Blaney at plus 1,000, Kyle Busch at 11-1 right there. I think Kyle is going to be a sneaky play to bet on there. William Byron at 12-1, the Maletto gut shot, where I'm on it too. And Alex Bowman is an intriguing one at 20-1 right there too. So he has the same odds as Bubba Wallace. So I think that should be something to consider too.
I like that. Give me William Byron at 1,200. I mean, between us talking through the data and where I was already leaning, I will take a bet at 1,200. And I can't stop betting Bubba at these tracks at plus 2,000. That is a line I could see coming down a little bit if he qualifies well. I doubt he goes much deeper than 20-1, maybe 21-1. So if you did want to bet Bubba, you're probably better off betting early than late.
Truly, because sometimes he does qualify pretty good at these tracks too.
Right.
It's not every time, but sometimes he does.
And I could see them moving him to 1,800, 1,600, something like that.
Me too. Totally me too. So getting into other picks and bets, I know you said nothing until after qualify, but I got one here too. So
I love the one you got too, dude.
Yeah. The one head bet here that I placed is a head-to-head bet on DraftKings Sportsbook. William Byron versus Joey Logano. I'm taking Willie B at minus 110 right there. Or really, I'm just going to say this. If you see any head-to-head bets against Joey Logano this week, bet against Logano. Because Logano does not finish races here. And until he finishes races, I'm not trusting him in order to finish better than anybody. So give me Willie B over Joey Logano right there. No questions asked.
I'm the Logano hater. What happened here? I may go look for head-to-heads against Joey just for that now. I knew it was bad, Sean. I didn't know it was that bad. And this is where I would love to be a fly in the wall or talk to Joey and be like, hey, bro, just so you know, you end up front all the time, but you never finish here. You know why you never finish here? Because you're a moron with your blocks.
Let me put it this way. Out of all the drivers that have raced at least one race within the past 6 Talladega races, I'm looking at the whole grid. It's sorted by average finish. Joey Logano ranks 46th on the entire list out of 53. With only one single top 20 finish.
We don't even have that many drivers week to week.
I'm not even joking.
I know you're not, man.
That's the crazy thing.
That's why I'm laughing. It's like, it's funny because it's true. Oh my. All right. I will say this. I'm not pushing a bunch of bets until we see qualifying. I'm hoping lines come down. If you do want to get on early, I like the Kyle Busch bet Sean's called out. I'm fine with Blaney. I am feeling William Byron. I may even text Finsty that. I love the longer line on Bowman. I can't get off the Bubba Wallace train. I did find it interesting that Ty Dillon has better odds than Austin Dillon. I found that very interesting. Just something to note. I love Sean's idea of attacking head-to-heads. So I'm with them there. I don't expect the head-to-heads to change much. So you're probably fine betting them now or waiting, but I see no problem in betting them now. I just don't see them changing much. So
unless you're like me and want to just go against Joey Logano because he doesn't finish a damn race at Talladega.
Just keep checking every day and just put a new bet in. I mean, who knows how it's going to go head to head. And I love chasing top 10s, top 5s. I probably won't do that this week. Maybe someone like an Anthony Alfredo. Maybe if you got plus 600 for a top 10, I could do that. Zane Smith, maybe. If there's a Zane Smith top 10 line for plus 800, plus 600, I could see doing something like that. But generally speaking, I'm probably going to be a little weak on the top 10, top 5 bets, Sean.
For reference here, looking on DraftKings Sportsbook at the time of this recording, Zane Smith top 10 is at plus 250. Anthony Alfredo top 10 is at plus 350.
See, that's a little too low for me, man. You know what I mean? Like, I don't disagree that their likelihood of finishing there is within that range, for the odds. But 28 cars were in the big one last year. Like, if I'm going to bet anything, I want to bet something with long odds to offset any of the craziness. Am I out to lunch on that?
I agree with your theory as it is, but if you're looking right now on DraftKings Sportsbook, the deepest you're going to be able to go for a top 10 is at plus 450, and that's with J.J. Yaley, Cody Ware, and B.J. McLeod.
I'm out. I'm out. Nope. No dice here, bro. I'm out.
I love how this is the second time that I've gotten Rich Noor to crack hard from me just listing off bets here.
Nope. Done. No way. Gone. I don't mind the 250 whatever. If we were at a track where I didn't feel like we had to bet against chaos, so be it. But I mean, Sean, why not pick 8 drivers to win then? You know what I mean? Because we could pick 8 drivers to win, which is a quarter of the field, roughly, a little less, a fifth of the field. And which is not any better than a plus 250, plus 300 type of bet, right? I mean, the likelihood's similar if we're having that many to choose from versus one. And if any of them hit, it offsets all the bets I made because everybody is no worse than 10-1. And honestly, we're probably only betting 1 or 2 guys in that 12, 10, 14-1 or less. Everybody else is going to be 20-1 or more. So I just can't see. I can't do it, Sean. Maybe scared money don't win money, but I can't do it.
Fair enough. But, if you want to try, this is not a bad week if you just want to throw a dart and see if it hits. So there you go. I would say,
if you want to take $20 and put $1 on 20 different drivers, this is the week to do it, where you could actually make money and break even still somehow. It's crazy as that sounds. So, Sean, should we put a bow on it? Remind everyone to head over to fantasyguru.com, click the subscribe button, check out the packages. There is one for you, I promise. If not, hit us at support@fantasyguru.com. We are part of the Elite Plus Network. You can find this on the YouTube channel. Please hit like and subscribe. Do us a favor if you don't mind. If you like the content here and you want more of it, check out the MVP All-In. Ooh, the MVP package, not the All-In. We'd be in the All-In one too, but that's everything. The MVP package gets you 12 months of all of our stuff. Not the football, but it gets you all our racing, gets you all the hockey, all the NBA, all the esports, all the MMA, all the soccer, everything that's not football and basketball. And there's a lot. I still challenge anyone to try to consume as much content as you can on our site. You can't do it. It's not possible. I've tried. Beyond that, Sean, I'm loving the calls this week. This was fun. It was fun to talk Rockingham and Talladega, 2 older tracks, 2 very different tracks. You got any closing thoughts to send us out with?
Well, I'm just going to say have fun and try to relish in the chaos as best as you can this week. That's what I'm going to say.
If you don't like chaos, this is not the week to bet. If you like chaos, this is the week to sit back, put some low bets in, make a few of them, and watch the show. Chaos should unfold, even if it doesn't happen until the last 10 laps to go. On behalf of Sean Engel, who you can find on Twitter at SeanE247. Remember, that's the easy way, SEAN for Sean. Don't follow me on Twitter. I'm not worth it. But you can find me on Discord at Rich Maletto. If you really want to see some political taunting and yelling, then fine, go to X, but I do not recommend it. You can find me at Fantasy Bosco. Till next time, on behalf of everyone at Fantasy Guru and Elite Plus Network, peace.
Peace.